This is a legendary auto rifle in Destiny 2. And this is a completely different legendary auto rifle. Could you tell the difference? What about a third, completely different legendary auto rifle? And finally, a fourth. Can anyone here correctly identify all four of these weapons? Perhaps you can identify 2 or 3, perhaps some of you are even thinking of rewinding to try to see which ones you can identify. But the fact that these 4 different weapons that come from different activities are so similar to one another is a huge problem, and it's the problem we're discussing in today's video. What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and today we're going to be tackling archetypes in Destiny 2. It was a problem in Destiny 1 that has been made even more substantial in Destiny 2, and it has to do with the intrinsic perks. Now, it's a secret to no one that Destiny 2 is struggling, but there is hope on the horizon. Bungie has outlined several updates in the coming months that will address key factors within the game. A change to movement speed and the movement system altogether. We've got mods 2.0, we've got raid prestige mode changes, we've got a ton of great things coming to Destiny 2, but the real concern here is that you can change the game all you want and improve the game all you want, and while that will help, it's only 50% of the real issue. The other 50% has to do with the loot. Right now in Destiny 2, a lot of people aren't happy with the game, and they aren't happy with the stuff they get for playing the game. Well, you can change the game, but you still have to have that desirable loot aspect. In Destiny 2, there is no Galahorn, there is no Black Spindle type secret exotic quests, there is no IS Luna, there is no guns that you're really trying to go for, and you're also trying to get the god roll. That doesn't exist within Destiny 2, and on top of that, you have a very stale meta that didn't change in the last patch. Although there is a new sandbox update coming soon, it's likely just going to change things around for a little bit until a new meta settles. And that's because of this archetypal weapon system that has been a problem since Destiny 1. And due to the intrinsic perks, it's likely to remain a problem for the entirety of Destiny 2 unless something is done. So again, in this video, we're going to identify the problem and then talk about how to fix it. And frankly, it's not that hard to fix, especially with your help. If you guys watch this video and think, hey, this guy's onto something, please take the time to support it. Goodness knows every Destiny 2 content creator needs help right now, especially if you're making content without secret hidden exotic in the title. So, what exactly is the problem going on here? What's so wrong with these intrinsic perks in Destiny 2? Well, again, it has to go to that archetypal system. Now, what that is, for those of you who may not be aware, is that the weapons in Destiny, although there seems to be a lot, there really isn't too many. And what I mean by that is that if we look at auto rifles, for example, we have the fast-firing 720 rounds per minute auto rifles, something like the Persistence. Then we have the 600 rounds per minute auto rifles, something like the Scavelock. Then we have the 450 auto rifles. Of course, we have Uriel's Gift lying here. And then lastly, we have the highest damaging archetype, which the New Monarchy auto rifle we got for the last faction rally belongs to. Now, within these different archetypes, there are several weapons. There are several 450 rounds per minute auto rifles. But like we showed at the very beginning of the video, they're nearly identical. The main thing that changes them is their perks. But when you have a rather lacking perk structure and not too many perks that differentiate each weapon, you are just going to have a pyramid, where at the top of the pyramid you have stuff like the Uriel's Gift that have the good perks, and at the bottom you have everything else. Now this archetype structure makes it easy for Bungie to balance weapons. If the 450 auto rifles are insane, which they kind of are, they can simply go in and nerf the 450 archetype, right? But it does lead to so many problems, and mainly, it makes the game boring. If you're getting these new weapons, the worst thing in Destiny and in Destiny 2, this problem carries over, is when you compare that new weapon to the stuff you already have and realize, oh, it's worse or the same, and there's no point in using it, right? How sad is it when you get a new auto rifle, you compare it to a Uriel's gift, and yeah, it's the same archetype, almost the same everything, right? Within each archetype, there are minor changes to stats like stability, range, reload speed, handling, and of course stuff like aim assist and so on, but they are very minor changes. They're almost indistinguishable within each different category. So because of the weapon archetype system, you have so many weapons in Destiny 2, so similar to one another, and that's making the game boring. You also have a really hard time introducing new weapons that stand out from what's already in the game. And again, this was a problem in Destiny 1. I complained about this in Destiny 1, but the intrinsic perks make it so much worse, because instead of just having similar weapons, you have weapons that have the exact same properties. Because not only are all the 450 auto rifles firing at the exact same rate of fire, they have similar perks and they do the exact same damage, but because of the intrinsic perk precision, they all have the exact same properties as well. They have the same vertical recoil patterns, right? They have the same amount and degree of recoil. They have the same look, feel, everything is almost identical aside from some minor stat changes, and then of course the perk differentiation. This problem occurs everywhere you look. The fast firing auto rifles all have viced rapid fire, and guess what? They're all incredibly similar. If we go over to the scout rifles, the high damaging scout rifles all have high impact frame, and guess what? They're incredibly similar. The fast-firing scout rifles all have viced rapid fire, and guess what? They're incredibly similar to one another. And this system means that whenever DLC number 2, the Warmind DLC, comes out, it's gonna be exciting, there's gonna be new exotics, but then all of the legendaries are gonna be stuff that you already have, except for we can just hope for a couple of different perks. That's really depressing when you think about it. So what's the solution? How can we fix this? Well, it's actually really simple, and it's actually just the intrinsic perks themselves. Yup, the thing bringing down the weapon system can also save it, and here's how. The intrinsic perks, instead of being to each archetype specifically, so right now, Precision Frame can only spawn on 450 rounds per minute auto rifles. What if Bungie made these intrinsic perks random? What if Precision Frame could come on a 600 rounds per minute auto rifle? Hold on a second. Like, what if you could get a Scathe Lock with Precision Frame? Now we're talking. Right now, every single 600 rounds per minute auto rifle comes with adaptive frame for whatever reason. But if we had some with Precision Frame, so they were incredibly accurate, that might shake up the meta, don't you think? Now here's another crazy idea. What if some of the 450 rounds per minute auto rifles, instead of only spawning with Precision Frame, they could spawn with high impact frame, doing more damage? Now I know what you're thinking. A Uriel's gift doing more damage? That's insane, right? That's so overpowered. Well, not necessarily. The reason that precision auto rifles are so good is because of the precision intrinsic perk. They are so incredibly accurate out to a long range. Have you ever tried using the high impact frame auto rifles? They bounce around like crazy. They have huge amounts of recoil. So doing more damage but having substantially more recoil, making it so much harder to land your headshots, I don't necessarily think that would be overpowered. And you know what? That would be really fun. Like going around with an auto rifle that doesn't have precision, you have to get close, but if you do get in close and play aggressively, you are awarded with a higher damaging weapon and a lower time to kill. That again would shake up the meta. And if you're typing in the comments that this would be overpowered and it would ruin the game, Guys, 90% of the player base is already gone, alright? It's not the time to stay boring. It's the time to excite. It's the time to experiment. You can't possibly be thinking that the way that Bungie has been going is the way they should keep going. Things are going catastrophic on this path. It's time to again finally experiment and try some new things. Seriously, think of all of the possibilities just with auto rifles. If each one of the different archetypes could spawn with the other's intrinsic perks. You would have the fast firing archetype with precision. You would have like a Modern Warfare 2 ACR where it's super accurate but it does like no damage. You could have the 600 rounds per minute auto rifles with high impact frame doing more damage, again awarding that aggressive playstyle. You could finally have the high impact frame assault rifles coming with precision. Something like the half hand D might actually be good with precision frame. And that is just with the auto rifles. Like, it honestly boggles my mind how much creativity and how many different possibilities you could have just by switching around these intrinsic perks within this archetypal system. That would make the game so unbelievably fresh. And again, we're just looking at auto rifles. Scout rifles would also be crazily affected. And hand cannons. And SMGs. Right now there's only 2 different archetypes of SMGs. 900 rounds per minute or 600, and that's it. And again, that's boring. And if you're going to introduce an entirely different DLC, and that DLC has SMGs, how are they going to stand out from the crowd? Spoiler alert, they're not. They're going to fall into obscurity, and everyone's going to be bored with the DLC in a matter of weeks. Bungie is doing some great things to Destiny 2. I am super impressed with how communicative they've been, and I'm super impressed with some of the improvements coming down the pipeline. But again, it's 50% of the problem. We need to address loot in Destiny 2 if this game is to survive. And having these super boring archetypes that are all incredibly similar to one another is not the way to go. Things have to change, things have to get crazy. We finally have an opportunity to have some super exciting, unique loot in the game by just moving around the intrinsic perks. Bungie, please, take a chance on something. Because frankly, if weapons end up being overpowered, so what? Nerf them. We have static weapon rolls in Destiny 2. Luke Smith went on record and said that they could go in and individually tune a weapon without having to nerf an archetype. That's on record, that's in an interview. So it's time to start doing that. If a weapon is overpowered, go in and maybe change that weapon's specific archetype or intrinsic perk or nerf its damage or change its perks or whatever. Right? I think the community would be more happy with having so much more possibilities, so much more customization, so much more replayability. And yeah, we might need some nerfs a little bit more often. But again, so what? It's a small price to pay. And so guys, that is it for the video. By the way, if you're wondering on what the weapons were at the beginning of the video, it was the Uriel's Gift, then the Positive Outlook, then the Jangisai AR-4, and lastly the Number. Also, if you enjoy my content and want to support the channel and myself, consider buying the merch linked in the description down below. The hoodies are amazingly soft, especially the black ones. Guys, if you want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.